Hey everyone, it's Denise Brown from caringourway.com, and welcome to the first episode of a new podcast we're launching. It's called the Caring Professional Reset, and it's for professionals who serve and support family caregivers. It's an opportunity for us to connect, to share insights and knowledge, to practice our insights and our knowledge, and to support each other. We gather live. If you ever want to join me live, you could join me live on the first Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, and then the second Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. The first Wednesday is around sharing information and wisdom. The second Friday is called Practice Lab. That's where we put into practice what we've talked about. I think it's really important that those of us who serve and support family caregivers have an opportunity to share the collective wisdom that we've gathered and to share support for each other. We do go live and we post our archive in a special section on Caring Our Way called the Caregiving Support CEU Training Center. If you join that, you can earn CEUs by watching recordings of our podcast or joining me live. It's a nominal fee to join every month, pay a monthly fee, or to pay an annual fee. You save a little bit when you join us annually. And if you're a nurse, a social worker, and a certified case manager, you can earn CEUs. We have a whole list of professionals who can earn CEUs, and you can learn about that when you visit the Caregiving Support CEU Training Center on caringourway.com. Okay, so that is a little bit of what we're doing. So let's just start. And I thought we would start with our first episode where insights for me really started. And that is once I looked at how do you stage the personal caregiving experience. And I looked at staging the experience first in 1997 and then have revisited that concept over the years. I wanted to make sure that the concept remained relevant. So I regularly look at it, tweak it, and adjust it. And what I thought would be helpful is if we looked at the 6 caregiving stages from the perspective of how we serve family caregivers. A little bit about me. So I started supporting family caregivers in 1990, and then I cared for my dad for almost 20 years. He died in July of 2023. I cared for my mom for about 8 years, and she died in August of 2022. And then I had a brother who died a year before my mom and 2 years before my dad. When I think about the personal caregiving experience, it's always helpful for a few reminders. It's not a location-based experience. Family caregivers will often say, I don't live with my caree, so I'm not sure if that really qualifies me to receive support as a family caregiver. And it's not location-based. It's not about where the caree lives, where the family caregiver lives. It's about the emotional impact of a caregiving experience on that individual who may or may not call themselves a family caregiver, but we will. It's okay, whatever they call themselves, but we know that they are taking on the responsibilities of that caregiving role. And I also think it's helpful if we look at who supports family caregivers to think about connecting them to someone who understands their impact. It's really important that we think about peer support in a larger framework. And I think we'll do a podcast on peer support for family caregivers because that's important too. I think we have a tendency to connect family caregivers based on a caree's disease and even more specifically where the caree is in a disease process. However, the family caregiver might define peer support in a different way. They might want to connect to a spouse, regardless of the caree's diagnosis, but a spouse who is in similar age to them and might still be working and raising a family. So it's not about the caree's disease process. It's really about the impact of a caregiving experience on that family caregiver. And they might want to connect with someone else who's in a similar situation. So we'll talk about peer support. So peer support as we go through our themes for the months. So I did plan out our themes. And I'll move a few around because I think peer support is really important to think about. Keep in mind about this concept of staging the caregiving experience is that it's fluid and flexible. It can apply in whatever way a family caregiver wants to apply it. What we're going to focus on during our time together today are the keywords. And in each stage, there's a keyword. And for the family caregiver, it's a coping strategy. For us, it's inspiration on how to reach them, how to support them, how to meet a need. And then if you look at the full concept, you'll also see that I have stumbles and steadies. We're not going to really talk about that today. We'll do that again at another time because I really wanted to focus on keywords and how they can inspire us to create programs to support family caregivers. We're meeting for just about 25, 30 minutes each time because I want this to be a short break from your long day that feels like I can digest this. So that's why we're being a little more focused on the content. We're not doing something that is very intense. We're doing short, bite-sized pieces that you can think about, I bet I could start implementing this knowledge after I listen to this podcast, which would be awesome. And then when you do that, come to Practice Lab and tell us what you did. The expectant caregiver looks into the future and thinks, oh, I think someone might need my help. Now you might think, wonder how many expectant caregivers there are in the world, and how do we actually reach family caregiver, the expectant caregiver? Everyone is an expectant caregiver, everyone. Regardless of how many caregiving experiences you've already had, you never know who may need your help in the future. And I think it's really important for us to not say at some point, we will age out of being a family caregiver. So I talked about helping my parents. My dad really helped my mom until she died at 87. My dad was 90. And at the end of life, at the end of my mom's life, my dad was helping me with very physical hands-on care with my mom. My dad, who was 90. Yeah. I just connected with a colleague recently, and she was sharing about how she connected with someone she knows. And this individual asked about joining my colleague's support group. And my colleague made the assumption that this individual who's in her 80s wanted to join because she wanted to think about receiving care for herself. And that was not the case. She wanted to join because she is helping her adult daughter. It's very important that we keep an open mind about who's in a caregiving situation. And as expectant caregivers, we also keep an open mind about how to be ready just in case. Now, I appreciate that no one really wants to be in this role. However, we as professionals, knowing that everyone is an expectant caregiver, can do some really interesting things that help anyone gather information that's helpful today that will position them to be ready for tomorrow. In each stage, we have a purpose for the family caregiver. It's to prepare and take care of yourself. And because we know that as professionals, we can think about how to help individuals ask good questions of other family members around legal document, where do they bank, what do they want around end-of-life wishes, all of that. We started doing family emergency planning in 2019, and we do it every month. It's free. It's a free planning session. And then you can connect with a certified caregiving consultant if you'd like to do private one-on-one family emergency planning. And we do this because everyone needs a family emergency plan. And then when you connect with everyone and help them create a family emergency plan, they start to talk out who else they're helping in the family, who they might be worried about because of a weather emergency. So now you're connecting with expectant caregivers and you're not telling them they're expectant caregivers. You're just helping them in their role as expectant caregivers. Everyone needs a family emergency plan, and everyone needs to prepare for the possibility of flooding. Regardless of where you live, flooding is something that could happen. I wish that it wasn't, but that's our climate, our weather situation. So everybody needs a family emergency plan. That's how you reach expectant caregivers. You don't tell them they're expectant caregivers. You provide a service, a program that will help them. And it helps them today because they think through, what if I'm sick? Who will pick the kids up from the bus stop? Who will walk the dog? And then you really start helping them think about, oh, you know what? My mom is living alone. She's doing great, but I wonder, what if there is some kind of weather emergency? What do we do? Okay, so we help family caregivers in the expectant stage ask questions, and then we are there to help them find answers. And it's all around family emergency planning. We have tools within each of the stages that can help, and they can help family caregivers and they can help you. So they're very easy tools to use. You look at a wheel and you think, this is what I need help with. I need more support. And as professionals, we can never have enough support. So you could look at this ask wheel and think, who could I ask for support when I'm having a long day? The more we get in the habit of asking good questions and asking for what we want and asking for help, the more we help others in our life, including expectant family caregivers. The second stage is when someone starts to help. And it's really a time when you might notice that someone in the family is starting to need some more help. And it also could be the time when someone in the family receives a diagnosis. That is a trigger for us to step in with an effective intervention. And for us, what we do, again, on a monthly basis, it's free, is we help family caregivers after a family member has received a diagnosis. We know that that kind of support does not happen after a diagnosis. There's barely any support for the patient. There's none for the family caregiver. And we don't have to call anyone a freshman caregiver. We don't even have to call them a family caregiver. We can say, if you have a family member who has received a diagnosis and you are worried, join us to receive support. That diagnosis impacts you. We can help you manage that impact. Because in this stage, it's all about finding. And so you're going to help them find support for themselves, resources for themselves, as well as for their caree. And we use the term caree for the individual receiving care. And then here's the wheel. And I think we all want to find understanding, answers, help, success. So again, when you use this tool for yourself, it helps you stay in that right perspective to step up and support and serve someone else who's in a position where they're finding. The third stage is the entrenched stage. Sometimes people feel like they skip over the freshman stage. No one skips over the expectant stage. But some feel like they skip over the freshman stage because it's an immediate crisis. There's a medical emergency, there's an accident, something has happened. And they immediately step into this, oh my heavens, I've got to help. I've got to figure this out. And the key word in this stage is to receive. And for our work, I really think it's about understanding how to help that entrenched family caregiver receive where they are. They're going to spend a lot of time in the community, on the phone, trying to find help. trying to find resources, trying to connect puzzle pieces to complete a puzzle so that they feel like, okay, we have support, we have help that helps. That is exhausting. And I think it's really helpful if we think about how to support that family caregiver so they can receive help where they are. And it can sound like when you are worried about a family member who has a diagnosis or injury, and you're doing everything you can to set up systems to help them, you need a break too. And what if you could get a break right where you are? So it didn't take time, it didn't take money, it didn't take energy. All you could do was receive. And we do that with what we call a respite in place planning session. That happens every month too. That's free. And we help the family caregiver figure out where in the house, where in their apartment, where in their yard, where in their neighborhood they can receive. And what I love about this is that it's simple in that you think about, okay, where could I sit in my house so that I get a break, I can relax, and I can let out some stress. But I also love this because it helps a family caregiver look at their space in a different way. As part of our dementia care family support program, I coach a family system. Oh, here's another example about how we can never say that people age out of caregiving. So I coach a spouse who's 93 who cares for her husband. Her adult daughters join the coaching sessions, and she will share honestly about her stress. It's one of the reasons that we connect. How's your stress? What's helping you with stress? And she will talk about the drudgery, the grind. And I asked her where she could go in her house to feel like she can get a break. And then she talked about this chair she sits in. And when she sits in the chair, she reads, she crochets, she journals a little bit, she receives. And it changed how she looked at that chair. It wasn't something that she kind of minimized, oh, it's just a chair. It became, oh, this is where I go for respite, for a break, for time, for a choice about what I do with my time. And that support around thinking through what's the space and how do you transform that space is so lovely. It's such a lovely experience. So think about what's the program or service you could create, you could offer that helps that family caregiver receive where they are. That's powerful. And then we have a wheel. It's the receive wheel. And you can use this wheel too. And again, when you use it, it helps you think through how can you help a family caregiver use it to receive. And what's interesting is that we hurt during caregiving, and I think it's important for us to receive healing for our heart and for our body. We actually have two additional tools that we use. It's the daily recovery plan and it's the daily healing plan. And you can find out more about those tools on Caring Our Way. Or, oh, I included them here. The daily recovery plan. Yes, I forgot I included that. Very simple. And again, it's about receiving where they are. And they can take some time to recover. And they go through this 3-step strategy to name what they're recovering from, to decide what they want to use to recover, like a walk, 5 minutes alone, a hot cup of tea, and a journal. Because what they want to recover to is feeling energized, feeling relaxed, feeling peaceful, feeling hopeful, feeling less worried. The daily healing plan follows the same process, naming what you're healing from, what you're healing with, what you're healing to. The 4th stage is the pragmatic stage, and this is where you get used to caregiving. It's not such a shock. Now, everybody asks me, how do I get from entrenched to pragmatic? And I say, as soon as you say you want to be in the pragmatic stage, you're in the pragmatic stage. The key word is to welcome, because We're no longer fighting it. We're more in accepting it. And so we can welcome insights, wisdom, patience. And I think it's also important in this stage that we realize fighting our emotions like impatience, anger, guilt, fighting them takes up energy. It's much more helpful to release them. So we don't judge those negative emotions. We just say, oh, I'm feeling guilty today. What am I going to do about it? You know what? I'm going to journal. Oh, I was so impatient today. Well, I'm going to go to bed early so I have a better patient day tomorrow. We don't beat ourselves up. We don't judge ourselves. We just know it's good and bad. The emotion is good and bad. The experience is good and bad. And we're just going to welcome both good and bad, good days, bad days. And we're going to keep moving through because we know if we stop and beat ourselves up for a bad day, it's going to make a good day impossible. It's going to be hard to move to a next day that's good because we're carrying the bad day with us. So when we think about how to support someone who has been in a caregiving situation for a long time, and I want you to know that they can define long themselves. So they might feel like long is 6 months. That's awesome. And they already moved through the entrenched and they feel like, oh my God, I got used to it. It's been a long 6 months, but I'm used to this now. Great. Might be that it's been a long 2 years, a long 10 years. Again, it's really the family caregiver who decides what this experience is like for them. So when we think about how to support them, it's really around outlets for honest reflection, journaling, sharing, storytelling. Those are honest outlets. And think about how you can provide that for the family caregiver who has been doing this for a while, has a lot of stories to tell, not a lot of listeners. How can you create this opportunity so they can share these stories? And then we have a welcome wheel. And I love that on the welcome wheel, the words include dreams and celebrations. Okay, so let's go into the transitioning stage. This one is a little more complicated because we have a transition before our Carrie's death and after. The transition before is from doing to being. The transition after is into the next phase of our life. We also are in a caregiving role after a death because we are taking care of the details around a house, an estate, relationships. And in this stage, it's so important that we offer an opportunity for a family caregiver to update a family emergency plan or create their first one. Just as an aside, I do think we need to update family emergency planning every year. But if you haven't been able to connect to a family caregiver yet, and their caree has started palliative care and or hospice care, this is what you want to offer them. Because how they're managing emergencies has completely changed because now they're in palliative care, now their caree is receiving hospice care. You want to help them adjust to how different they're going to respond to emergencies. So important, so important. And because this stage includes beginnings and endings, the allow wheel includes those words as well. And then here's the daily healing plan. Okay, the sixth stage is the Godspeed caregiver. And I think about this as 2 years after caregiving has ended. And it's really this time where you look out into your life and you think, okay, I'm different. I feel like an improved version of who I was before caregiving. What am I going to do with that? So we take caregiving with us. I think about a parenting experience as teaching us how to love. I think a caregiving experience teaches us how to live. And in the Godspeed caregiver, that's what we do. We say, time is limited. I get that now. I'm going to make the most of my time. A Godspeed caregiver might want to give back. So think about how you can create opportunities for a Godspeed caregiver to volunteer to help you or to be a part of an event that you organize where they share their lessons learned. They have amassed this knowledge base. And for many, they want that to be helpful for someone else. So you can reach former family caregivers in your community and ask them to be a part of a new initiative, a new program, a conference. Not every Godspeed caregiver wants to give back in that way, but there are a lot out there, and they'd love for you to create an opportunity for them. And because the key word in this stage is treasure, the wheel really thinks about what are the aspects of our life that we're now going to treasure, that we're going to just say, I am going to hold on to these. I'm going to hold on to my wellness, my courage, my wisdom, my life, love. Okay. So that's a quick overview of the 6 caregiving stages. We focused on the keywords. The keywords help family caregivers, but they also help you in terms of how you support and serve family caregivers. So for Practice Lab, which is on the second Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, I'd love for you to consider your stage. And as you consider your stage, I'd love for you to think about what supports you. So when we get together, we're going to look at you as the family caregiver and what supports you. And I think it's really helpful if we tune into our own needs, because that helps us tune into the needs of the family caregivers we support and serve. So again, for Practice Lab, consider your stage and then consider what supports you. And then join me to tell me and tell us what you figured out about the stage you're in. Okay, thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much for watching. I'm really excited about this podcast, and I hope it becomes a really helpful resource for you. You do important, impactful work every day serving and supporting family caregivers. You deserve help and support too. And I hope this is one way you receive help and support. Okay, thanks so much. Be sure to stop by Caring Our Way and keep us posted on how you're doing. We'd love to know. Thanks for all you do. Bye-bye.